Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to yet a. It's not. Welcome back to yet another. No, it's not another video. Actually, it's the first live stream I've ever done on this channel. I've never really posted anything other than my usual stuff, my films and all that. But today I figured, you know what? Maybe I should share some of the knowledge I have on like color grading, and maybe for you filmmakers out there. Now, I want you to know that the software I am using currently is DaVinci Resolve. So, yes, but I'm pretty sure the techniques and the skills that I'm using right now are applicable to the softwares of the softwares I use. I just want to hear if my stream is correct. Okay, so everything is okay. Forgive me for that. Sorry. I just wanna share the link. And I'm getting some lags. Let's just wait. And I'm getting dropped frames. Oh my god, why am I getting dropped frames? Don't know what's up. I really do not know what's up. Just give me some few minutes. A lot of chickens crowing out here. I don't know why I'm getting drop frames. I just hope it's gonna be smooth because I am having a lot of drop frames. So let me just pop out this chat, and I hope the playback is going to be smooth because getting a lot of dropped frames. So if you're not seeing the full interface, that's because maybe not maybe that's because my screen is not really 1080p. It's one of these square aspect ratios. So yeah, I hope, but that is not really what matters. I really do not like. I don't feel like talking a lot today, but yeah, okay. Let's continue with the stream. Now, the very first thing that you do, regardless of whether you're in DaVinci Resolve or you're in maybe Premiere Pro, is what I usually advise is the mistake of a lot of people starting out color grading is that they do not, especially like when you're dealing with log footage. Okay, log footage, meaning that it's flat, like the colors are not really that saturated. Basically, if you do not know what log footage is, you can just go research, but it's just picture profile that maximizes on the dynamic range. There's a bloody plane passing right now. That maximizes on the dynamic range of an image. So basically, the shadows are not going to be that saturated. The highlights, most of the stuff is not going to be really that saturated. So when shooting in log, or let's just say if you're color grading in log, then the first thing you should always do is make sure that your contrast and your brightness is high. So make sure that I don't know if there's a vector or there's a parade scope in Premiere Pro. I do not use to color grade a lot in Premiere Pro, but I don't know. But the first thing, you need to make sure that your shadows are somewhere hitting at the bottom here, because the shadows lie on this lower region. The middle region is the midtones, the top region is the highlights. Okay, so this image has a lot of midtones. That's what you can see, especially like in the reds. Okay, so once you've made sure that your contrast and saturation is okay, so like in DaVinci Resolve, it's just a matter of sliding this slider here, and as you can see, you see that is what it looks like without working on the shadows and the highlights. Okay, now I'm not using my first monitor because there's something, it has a lot of contrast, so I can't really tell if the black levels are okay, so I really don't trust the first monitor. And that's another thing about color grading in general. You need to have a very good monitor. Okay, mine is not really that perfect, but it just gets the job done. So, and it's good to note when your monitor is giving you false readings, like I've just mentioned that my first monitor here, my IBM monitor, has issues with contrast. It has a lot of contrast, so it may lie to you, and you may think that you have the correct contrast in your scene. So the other thing to do is to check whether there is some color imbalances. Now, I shot this with a daylight temperature, so everything was warm and red. So what I did is I made sure that I take down the reds, and you can also do that in Premiere Pro. So as you can see, I took down the reds from the gain. Okay, if I revert it, you see there is a lot of red in that image, which is not really a good thing. So, and it's just good to tell which color is really predominant in that scene. So red. So once I took out the red, as you can see, the image looks a little bit more pleasing, but let's just take it back to where it was. Now once you're done maybe fixing the colors and the saturation, not the saturation, the colors, just make sure that your saturation is back, and fix these colors when your saturation is back. So for me, I found that 60 is the sweet spot for this video. Okay, it's music videos I shot sometime last week. So the next thing that I do, once you've done all that, basically that's color correction. Okay, so you start with color correction. So once you're done color correcting, now you need to go to the grading. So as you can see, if I was to press Shift H on DaVinci Resolve, you see that I have defined most of my skin tones. Okay, so these are areas that have a resemblance, regardless of how dark a person is, especially like this lady. You can see it's still able to tell some of her skin. Of course, she is in the shadow, so she's going to be kind of difficult to expose for, but regardless of what skin tone you are, it's just that sometimes, as you can see, like for this light skinned lady, as you can see, some of her face is not, now basically white just means that it's no longer a part of that selection set. Okay, and maybe I can click and add a few. Oops, it's not really helping that much, so I think that area, if I was press Shift H, I think that part of her face is really overexposed. Okay, and my camera is really not that good with low light, so I can obviously tell there's a lot of noise in the image, but I already defined the skin tones. Once you've defined the skin tones, okay, you just need to make sure that you bring back some orange back into the, so in this case the midtones, you need to make sure that you bring back some oranges into the skin. It adds some life into the skin tones. So you can also even you can improve on the brightness and the saturation of the skins, whichever works for you. And I don't know why DaVinci Resolve flickers sometimes. It's an issue, but if it flickers like this in DaVinci Resolve, I think the best thing to do is to just restart your close DaVinci Resolve and open it again, because it's going to render out like this. okay, with that flicker. Okay, now once I've defined the skin tones, I was heading over to the shadows. Now, working with the nodes, first of all, I think I did not explain how you get to this window, and I'm using DaVinci Resolve 16, so some of these things may not be there, like this one, and I think this one and this one, Fusion and Cut, are not part of older versions of DaVinci Resolve. But basically the timeline you need to be in, or the interface you need to be in, is the color grading one, this one that has circles. Okay, and basically this is a Premiere Pro timeline. So you just do a file export timeline and export it as a Final Cut XML, and then in DaVinci Resolve file import timeline XML. And as you can see, now I did not edit it because I found that if you have effects, like effects that are specific to Premiere Pro, not simple stuff like dissolves and all that, but if you have complex effects, they are they're probably going to give DaVinci Resolve some problems when importing that footage. So just make sure that you do not have effects. That's why I chose to color grade first and then go back to, I'm going to export this timeline again and go back to Premiere Pro and edit the rest of the footage there. Okay, so once you come back to the color grading interface, just make sure you hit on nodes. You may double click it, sometimes it doesn't respond, I don't know why, and you're going to get your node interface. Okay, so and these are corrector nodes, so right click, add node corrector, or Alt S. I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if there's a difference between a serial node or like I don't necessarily know what's the difference between a corrector and a serial node, but what I know is Alt S is going to create a separate serial node, so let's just delete that node. But the one that's supposed to be working with, I think, is corrector. Okay, so the next thing that I do is I go to the color picker and I define my shadows. So I'm going to look for the darkest frame, or something that is so dark. So I think at this point, this is the darkest point I've seen the whole footage. As you can see, it's not really that clear. So and and I'm using the 3D, by the way, so you need to make sure that you're under HSL, or which is basically hue, saturation and luminance, or the RGB. The 3D is a little bit intensive, so and that's one thing you need to note when using DaVinci Resolve, is that it's a very GPU intensive software. So if you do not have a good graphics card, you're going to have a lot of problems. So let me play some music. Okay, so just make sure that that you have a good GPU first of all if you want to use DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so I'm just going to define the shadows, and as you can see, it's automatically detecting all the darkest areas in the frame. Okay, you can use this feather tool to add some shadows, but I can see that it's really doing a good job, and I think that's because this image already has a lot of shadows. Okay, try and soften it a little bit. Now a good way to soften it is using these values here. So as you can see, I'm trying to define the shadows in this image. Now red has a lot of effect because this image, as you had seen earlier, had a lot of reds in. As you can see, green, blue don't really have that much of a difference, but red is the one that really has so much. Okay, so Alt Shift H to make sure that click on one, do some denoising, clean black, as you can see, clean white. Just make sure that the selection is definite, because if you don't, you're going to get some flickering. Okay, now that I've defined the shadows, I already know that the shadows have a good levels, or you can just darken them if you want. That's an option, but in this case I normally use a green, but I'm just going to use a blue for this music video. And as you can see, things have started looking a little bit better. And as you can see, that flickering is really not good. If you find yourself flickering, if you find DaVinci Resolve is flickering a lot, you need to make sure that you close it and open it once again. So add a node, try and make sure that you hit on that line, and it's going to snap automatically. So now, just because now define the shadows, okay, I now need to define my highlights, okay. And my highlights, as you can see, I have a lot of yellowish tint, which is something that I really do not like. So I'm just going to go to, let me use hue saturation. Oops, make sure that you're under that selection set. Shift H to see what you're selecting. And sometimes I don't like using HSL a lot, because it sometimes doesn't do the job properly. So, and you can add to the selection. And then Alt Shift H again. I'm just going to clean my whites. Make sure that whatever I'm selecting is what I need to be. Denoise, and then Shift H again. And like I said, I'm seeing a lot of greens, so I'm just going to go to my primary bars, turn the luminance mix down to 0. I don't know if it's blues and greens that are many, and this is why maybe you need one of those, I don't know, what do you call these things? Let me try counter it by adding a lot of blue and red and see. Maybe taking down green. And footage like this that does not have a footage like this that doesn't have a lot of good exposure is really difficult to grade, okay. But I'm really not going to tamper with it again. I'm just going to add another corrector, music courtesy of MCGZ. So I'm just going to now work on the general image, and I'm going to go to this motion effects, and I need to reduce my noise, okay. My noise, not noise, noise. Motion rate, there's a lot of motion, so I'm just going to say 5, and I'm going to say better. Large, try and mess with the luma. And DaVinci Resolve's noise denoiser is very powerful. It's not like oh my god, don't tell me that I've lost all this work. For those who says that the DaVinci Resolve doesn't crash, you've just seen it crash. All these softwares crash. I don't know what is really wrong with them. I don't know if this is because this is the public beta. Because this is the beta. My god. This software is not stable, the beta. I'm going to have to download the other one. I hope the other version is stable. So let's just give it some time so that it can wake up. I don't know what's its problem. And I think all that work is lost, if I'm not wrong. Oh my god. Yep. I have to repeat everything again. It's okay though. Really don't feel good. Not so bad. Just give me some few seconds. I'm working on something. Oh, shit. Can't believe, man. All that work is gone. All that work is gone. That really sucks, man. Okay, so let me just repeat everything that I have done because apparently I'm doomed. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to my color picker, 3D. Going to pick my shadows, darkest points, not 3D, RGB. So support some local upcoming artists, in case you're wondering where that music is coming from. It's from just some upcoming artists. Again, just make sure you go looking for darkest. They need darkest frames. And I should have said this live stream is for mature audiences. So the noise, clean black. As you can see, when I'm messing with the red, it's really messing with the skin tone. So that's, in case you're wondering, how do you color grade very dark people? That's your answer. Everyone has the same, even if it doesn't matter how much melanin you have in your skin, basically color grading is just the same. We all have a red orangish pigment in the skin, so that's what I am doing. And that noising, and it's really good to work with footage, especially if this was log, like if this was raw footage, I'm sure everything would have been nice. So in case you're wondering why people spend a lot of money buying cameras that shoot raw video, this is exactly the reason why. Now, in case you're wondering why a lot you put like a blue or a purple hue on the shadows, that's because if you think about it, if you look at this wheel, blue is a complement of red and orange. So you see, it's directly opposite, okay? And because there's a lot of skin tones, so it makes sense to either put green or just this range up to here works fine, okay? So see, if I was to put green, but green doesn't really look attractive in this scene, that's teal. For me, I see that blue is the one that makes the skin tones pop. As you can see, the flickering has stopped, so that's what I was saying. Sometimes it's just good to restart DaVinci Resolve, and I've realized I'm supposed to be control saving everything. So I'm going to add a corrector again. Okay, now I noticed that the highlights, now what I'm going to do is, because this HSL is not really defining the highlights that well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 3D, because this one is one that is more advanced, but it takes a lot of machine power. So I'm just going to highlight on the area that I know is the highlight. So if I press Shift H, you see the 3D Kia is really accurate. It doesn't really struggle defining the highlights. So that's one thing you need to note. You can also add this part, although it's clipped. Oops. Add it, not if you do it again you're just subtracting. So no, so I'm looking for areas in their skin where there is a lot of that stuff. So Alt Shift H, and as you can see there's a soften. And basically you just make sure you have 3, not more than 3 selections here. And the highlights are not really that clean. As you can see there's a lot of noise in the image, so that's something that is not really good. So again, I'm going to try maybe add some blue to the highlights. Let's go to the primary bars. Okay, I think blue is cooling off the highlights, which is a good thing. Yeah, blue is good for the highlights. And I'm going to leave it there because you've seen that this video is not really, this footage is not really that clean. It's good, yes, but it's not really that clean. That's just the fault of my camera, but hey, you have to work with what you got. So let's go to the motion, and I'm going to hit Ctrl S, and I'm supposed to be save as. Is there a setting that you can save to Dolby Vision? Never seen that before. I'm looking for, I don't know if there's a way. I think there's a way. Maybe I'm going to check for it later. I think there's a way you can put it to auto save. So I just need to make sure that I clean my noise better, Plage, Luma, and this window is really small, so I'm just going to go to my viewer mode, cinema viewer. For some reason Blackmagic has made it very convoluted to have a full screen, and as you can see the playback now is very choppy. So special, this one is one that is the one that is advanced. B6. And one thing by the way you notice, if you move, if you like decide to switch to DaVinci, you'll notice that this software handles video in a different way. Like the videos look more clean when they go through this software compared to Premiere Pro. I don't know what magic or what voodoo they've done to this software, such that it makes sure that, or it just gives you a very clean result. But as you can see, I've cleaned most of the noise, most of the people's skin tones are visible, and I don't think there's anything more I can do to this footage. As you can see, maybe that this noise is a little bit too high, but if let's go back to the full screen viewer again, cinema viewer that is. As you can see, the most of the noise is kind of gone. So yeah, and I don't know about that song. That song sounds like it's copyrighted. Some songs sounds like they are copyrighted. My god, that plane. So, in case you're wondering, how do you then get your color grades into Premiere Pro? Now, the thing about DaVinci Resolve is that, like if, oh my god, it has decided to crash again. I hope I had I think I had saved. I hope I had saved. This software is really unstable. I'm going to make sure that I upgrade it, because I've seen that this one is really unstable. Okay, let's just wait for it to open. But the good thing is that I was saving But also, I was saying, like, if your footage is noisy, at that, in that case, I would advise to export, like, export the video out. Okay, or just color grade it separate from the timeline. So if you know that you have dark footage, I would say that color grade it before you bring it into Premiere Pro. So let's see. Okay, the only thing that was lost was the denoising, but you don't have to denoise in DaVinci Resolve. So it can, I think that denoiser is crashing the software a lot. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to export a color grade as a LUT, you just need to hit this button first of all so that you can see the footage. So it's this one that I'm working on. So right click and go to 3D LUT. No, generate 3D LUT, and I'm going to save it on my vice. It's not normal. What's the, I'm trying to see what this footage, what's the number of this footage. Wait, let me first go to the editor a little bit and see what number is this footage. So 64 short 6440, so that's the color grade. So in case you want, or maybe you want to use that LUT again, of which I really don't recommend it. $64 what? I think I've forgotten. Wait, it was short. I forgot. 6460. Okay, 6460. Sorry. Why are you short underscore 6460? Now it's a LUT file, so I just don't need to specify a lot because it's when you like bring it to Premiere Pro. So let me save everything and show you how you can and show you that that thing is going to come to Premiere Pro. Dropped frames detected. Why am I dropping frames? Okay, then I've noticed that the desktop audio is not being detected with Streamlabs. That is an issue. What's going on? FX sound enhancer was off. Let me see. Okay, I think it's back. So basically, so this is Premiere Pro. Obviously you're familiar with Premiere Pro. It's just that let me first let me do a reset of the interface. Now it's going to come back to here. That's because I've customized it that way. Okay, I'm just going to use the effects window. Workspace, reset to saved layout. I thought the music was playing. Oh my god. This plane has passed here for the fucking third time. I think there's I live near close by a GSU camp. Maybe they're doing their training today. So this is the clip that we've color graded in what? In DaVinci, right? So basically, if I want to apply that color grade to this clip, I'm just going to go to my shit. Okay, so this is the clip, right? Ah shit, no, just stay there. So this is the clip. Okay, so basically I'm just going to go to not basic correction, creative. I'm going to browse for that lat. So videos, as you can see, short 6460. As you can see, the color grade has come. Yes, right. Pause that music a little bit. As you can see, the color grade has come. Okay, but one thing that you need to do even before you apply a color grade, so let me say none, is first of all, the hue and the contrast is not going to come through. It's only the color grade. So what you need to do is just make sure that your contrast is correct. Okay, 0. So make sure that your shadows are down, make sure that your highlights are correct. Work with some of the curves here a little bit, the RGB curves like that. Okay, as you can see, there's a lot of red, so that song is funny. Is that how you can reset these curves? Maybe that's I've not used DaVinci Resolve in a long while, so and make sure that your saturation is correct. So bring back the saturation and then apply your lat. You should be fine. And you might want to reduce the intensity and some of this stuff. And I think because this clip was dark, I didn't need to have done all that junk that I was doing. I'm wondering, can this thing be reset? Effect controls, lumetri curve. So creative, let's apply that latency. I think for this clip, I'm just going to make sure that let me just say, I'm not going to mess with the contrast because I've seen that is messing around with the footage. So I don't know if the contrast information has carried over, because I'm kind of noticing that the contrast information has carried over. Okay, but the color grade seems to have come from DaVinci Resolve. So in case you're wondering how you transfer your color grades from DaVinci Resolve, basically that's how you do. And the good thing about now about Premiere Pro is that you can, and I don't know why, I also think the denoising has come through also. I don't know. I'm trying to look at the shadows to see whether like the denoising came through, because I can notice that the footage looks kind of clean. Okay, but basically that's how you transfer a color grade from DaVinci Resolve to Premiere Pro. I'm even surprised that that one worked so well. So let's go back to Resolve, and I think now we can work on better looking footage. So let me look at the live stream and see how it's coming about. Let's pull up on that Kaboga song. You know that we are done working on this clip, and I'm really glad how it turned out. I'm just going to go back to my timeline. 6460. Now the next clip that I need to work on is what? So saying explicit stuff, so I hope there are no kids watching this video. Anyway, that's not really that important. Now footage like this is just going to be a breeze working on, okay? Okay, that was crazy, man. You know, sometimes I look at this footage and I'm like, what the fuck were these guys doing? Anyway, it's good, it looks good. So as I was saying, first thing to do is to make sure that your contrast is correct. So make sure that your shadows are hitting slightly, almost hitting the bottom. And there's no why I'm saying this footage is a breeze. As you can see, most of the colors here look pretty much the same, apart from the blue, which makes sense because there's not a lot of blue in this image. And then the midtones are already exposed. The thing that maybe I would want to turn down is try maybe to bring down the highlights a little bit. Okay, let's see. And I need to turn off this one, this next one. Okay. And because this one was already exposed correctly, I'm not really going to have so much of a problem. So the thing to work on is to bring back the saturation. Maybe bring it back to 60. As you can see, the colors look a little bit better. Now the next thing to add is because this image was already balanced out properly, but there's a green tint to everything. So I don't know if we can go back to the primary bars, maybe take down the green. Okay, so it's something that you're gonna have to take a lot of, it's something that takes a lot of practice, so that you can know what to remove and what to take down the luminance mix. Doggone. Boost the reds and the blues, take down the green. And I think right now it's supposed to be now balanced. And there's a lot of footage on this timeline that I need to, anything that I'm not working on needs to be X'd. As you can see now, the image looks nice, okay, because I made sure that the colors, and this is why I was saying, like, DaVinci Resolve deals deals with colors better than Premiere Pro. So okay, now that I made sure that the colors look natural, I just need to define my skin tones now, because this image is already exposed correctly. I just need to go to my 3D, and I'm picking him because his skin is on that is a little bit underexposed, because she's already exposed for correctly. It's just that highly melanated skin absorbs a lot of light. Okay. And sometimes if the keyer you're using is not working well, sometimes it's just good to switch and see which one is better. So let me try the 3D one and see if the trying to say the 3D one is going to work. Not the 3D one, the RGB one is going to work properly. Ooh. This is also kind of a challenging shot, eh? Let's use the feather tool. Okay. Okay. Oh my god. Sana 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 mihiwanga dema must speak no maganja. Okay, I'll shift H. I need to make sure that the denoising is correct. Clean black, clean white. Okay, I think now that I've defined the skin tones, it's just a matter of going back to my log widths, boost maybe, then add some oranges and like I said, explicit consent, do not concentrate on the booty on the screen. Okay. I have to PG-18 this video. But the skins look nice. This is what I'm saying. If you have properly exposed footage, you're going to have a breeze color grading. So not Alt S, but right click corrector. And let's just define the shadows. Okay, as you can see, this image doesn't have a lot of shadows. As actually, what you're seeing right now, actually the software really trying so hard. It's really trying. That the software is really trying to capture some shadows. So the only thing that I can do is maybe some denoising, clean white, and shift H. And again, because this is the shadows, I'm just going to apply that blue. Okay, I don't like green, so let's just apply blue. Explicit content. I won again. Oh my god, my life. Now, one thing about adding that blue, you see it's starting to reveal the noise in the shadows, so boo, let's darken those shadows. Oops. Okay, I'm not going to really add a lot. Now the next thing that I'm going to add is the highlights, so let's just mess with the highlights. Okay, the highlights should be really easy. 3D, I think for 3D this one can work nice. The only problem with the 3D one, you can't really adjust it as much, so I think let me just use RGB. All this stuff is highlights, man. What are you? Why ain't you adding this? All this stuff is highlights. All that stuff is highlights, so especially like here, is it that there's no highlights on this? You see, it's a highlights. Why are you not detecting? Yeah, at least now I can see some definition in the skin tones, eh? It's really false to say that the skin doesn't have highlights. Okay, the flickering issues have started, so let me just hit Ctrl S. Probably go to the highlights, add some blues. Normally you just put the same color you've used on the shadows to the highlights. As you can see, the footage there looks nice. Let me look at it from this other monitor. Looks nice. This video is fun. This video is fun to watch. I'm not perfect, but damn, this video is fun. This video is very fun to work on. This video is really fun to work on. It's entertaining. Okay. Let's do some slight denoising. But large, little bit, Control S. As you know, this software, okay, it has decided to crash at the right moment. Okay, it was not crashing. Okay, good thing I had saved, so not really that stressed. MCGZ, man, this guy's good, bro. I used to play with him Fortnite. He was in that YouTubers group. He has good music, man. We got the hell now. I support his music by buying it on SoundCloud. Chikinami, honey, you're the one that I need. Tikani, hey, that's what, please, baby, please. Usiwe wakubahatisha, baby, Chikinami. Let me see. Tikani, nasema please baby please usiwe wakubahatisha baby cheke nami. Okay, it's good. Apple of my eye. Eyes. That's it, me.
Those lips and those hips don't tempt it. For you, I got a lot of things to say. Like you're the reason for my brighter days. How you do it, I don't know. You must be super girl. You're special.
Now obviously it a lag, because like I said, okay, now that I've color graded, let's just need to save this as a what? Lat. Kumbe hata jina ya footage iko hapa juu. Short underscore 6419. And boom. So basically you just repeat the same process for every clip. Let me first look at something.
Said I always be by your side, you know. Right till the wheels fall off, you know. Right for my lady, my queen, you know. Cause the lost realness of my tip, you know. See, you take me to happy places. LOL, one can smartly face it. I should wipe you.
Feels good to work on something and then it starts looking good. It just feels good. So what's the next shot that I need to work on? Okay, let's see. This one, This one, But this one I had worked on. I don't know if I saved the color grade, but let's just work on it. Like I'm saying, these shots are very entertaining to work on, So let's just shut down everything. Okay, so basically I've just held down shift and clicked. It's just going to highlight everything. Let me see. Oh, hey, I'm sure that music is copyright. Oh my god, no. Yeah, Delo Nyango, blah 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 blah. Let's go to the what? So basically the same process I was just doing. I'm just going to keep quiet and let you listen to the music as I work. Obi, oh, I miss Nairobi on fire. Obi, oh, I miss Nairobi on fire. Jimmy, what you?
Hey, Miss Obi, I've been in love with you my whole life. The kind of love I wouldn't know how to replace. The love I wanna hold tight. Oh, Miss Obi, let's dance together in the moonlight. The way you shine in the middle of the darkness. Really, you're my true light, my true light.
Rolling. When you're ready.
There's multiple audios. So saturation 60. I Miss Nairobi on fire. Chini kwa chini, kwa juu. On fire, on fire, Westie chini ya maji. Nairobi on fire. Miss Nairobi on fire. Chini chukwa juu. Fire, I Mr. Yogi, you're fire. I Mr. Yogi, you're fire. Baby, you're quite true. Fire, fire,
Rolling. When you're ready, action. When you're ready, I'm ready, action.
Oh my god, this guy was dying. Brown sugar, them killed it. Brown sugar, they killed it. They weird. Brown sugar.
patiently waiting, but my heart is aching. Just talk to me, baby. So many days you've been away. I miss your smile, kiss in my face. When you said we needed time alone, I couldn't breathe. I was a fool to think anyone would make me feel the way you do, way you do. Please, miss, don't go missing on me. Ninavyokupenda, ndiyo maana nasema I can't get high without your love. All of these drugs just ain't enough. I held my cards, you called my bluff. Dancing all night, that is surreal. How long will it take? I'm patiently waiting. But my heart is aching. Just talk to me, baby. How long will it take? I'm patiently waiting. But my heart is aching. Just talk to me, baby.
I paint these pictures so vivid, all with the microphone. I know you left me, but I hate to see you fight alone. I'm trying to right my wrongs, that's why I like to write alone. But I would rather argue with my girl than spend the night alone. I know your inner demons know.
Hiyo ni copyright hiyo.
Yeah. GZ. SJ's a heartbreak. Yo. Sometimes I wanna run away. Escape the world. Find a better place. Cause it's just mental. Vision boards trying to get where I'm meant to. Be my G. Cause even before I learned to hustle, life seemed to be against me. They tell me about pain, how it's temporary. I ain't the only one, people go through worse, so I should be happy. So it's plastic smiles, even though I really ain't okay. Nightmares pulling me through the deep water shit killing me slowly. Ice in my veins, pain in my heart, I'm going insane. So dark, man, half the time I don't really know who I am. So I light another one, spark another one, refill up my eyes straight, write another verse, drop another bar, trying to deal with all this heartache. What you know about pain? Hard to get up every time I fall back against the wall, up against the wall, and I ain't never really had no one at all. I still was a baby, parents went and left me, big brother dead now, no one really gets me. Loner, gone, ain't no one to check me, I'm drowning, somebody save me.
The hardest thing I've ever faced in life is deciding whether I need to survive. Must it meet me need to try? Must it meet me who try? Now
just write to chase the pain away. Try to collect myself, get through this day by day. Try to convince myself I still do this cause I love the music. I chose my path, I lost some friends and no lie, I really thought I had the blueprint, but screw this, man, it feels so useless. Bars on beats, but none of it moving. The rappers they wanna hear, old or clueless. They don't wanna build young cats and stupid. Like how nigga, how nigga, how nigga, how you ain't gonna let us win? I drop game, put my life on the beat, grind, day after day, week after weekend. When it gets rough and I feel weak, I still gotta fight when I face defeat. I got too many demons I got to kill. I'm drowning in this liquor, I'm trying to swim. I'm trying to live life, trying to reach these dreams, trying to reach these dreams. Trying to stand strong with broken crutches, my G, that's how it feels. And I'm out here, and all I got is these tears in the trap, ashtrays and heartbreaks, and y'all think I just rap. I said I'm out here, and all I got is these tears in the trap, ashtrays and heartbreaks, and y'all think I just rap.
See, the hardest thing I've ever faced in life is deciding whether I need to survive.
Can't stop laughing, bros. Oh my god, this video is just fucking on another level, bro.
Nani lazima mimi sina budi hii maisha udhaifu waitambui.
Ay! I don't even see this part, man. So yeah, man, this has got to be the most fun project I've ever worked on. Oops. Melodrama. You're trying. You're trying. Trying to keep holding on. Just try. Yeah, but pretend RGB.
Brown sugar done killed it. Brown sugar done stole it. Came and ran with it. Brown sugar take it, man. No, it's not the plan, but if you want it, I'm with it. Brown sugar a 10. Give him a flow, then never wanna hear shit again.
Brown sugar done killed it. Staki kubonga. Monga, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And a little bit of good vibes for you, leader. Follow me, I'm the leader. Skr,
19? Kwani kulikuwa na shot 19 mara ngapi? What? Good times. Ngoja. Kwani what are you talking about? This is shot 24. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. At shot 19. What is this, man? $64.24. But basically, I hope you've understood how to color grade. Okay, you see, it's not really that hard. You get a good, nice colors flowing. Okay. That way you can turn off these clips.
I'm the greatest in Africa, watch me. Hold up, right now I'm vibing, living my best life. Can't tell what the time is.
But you see how much you can.
Fuck up your lightest. Put him in the air, yeah, you know what the time is. Meditate, then I'm gone. Vibrate hit like I can't. Tell the DJ to play my song. All night long, a la long. Good times. I'm only coming here
That way you can turn off this color grade.
and that's a long time. I'm only coming here for good times.
Good times, good times, good times.
I'm only coming here for good times.
I'm trying to see. That way you can color, you can flip. Though, because I want you guys to see the difference between when. I want you guys to see the difference.
It's
Not
drama.
color, not label. Trying to see whether there's a way you can see by. Hey, yeah. All these songs are. These songs are copyright, man. Okay. I can't see how. Okay, how do you deactivate these things? What? I'm not really that familiar with DaVinci. Like, I've used it a lot. I've been using it for a while, but I'm not yet familiar because I moved from Premiere Pro. Yeah. Anyway, I cannot find a way how you can see the before and after. But I hope you learned something today, and basically that's how I go about color grading my footage. So if you have any questions, you can just comment there, and I'm going to try and answer you. So see you all maybe in the next time I decide to go live. Bye.